What is happening, everyone? Good evening to everybody here joining us on the Awesemo YouTube channel. This is the PGA DFS strategy show. Of course, everybody listening to us on playback, thank you for doing that as well, maybe through our podcast network. And Ben and I, well, we're going to be breaking down the Wyndham Championship today. It is the last event before the PGA Tour goes into its playoffs. And, well, we've got plenty to talk about, some life-changing money to be won, and some player props contests to win. As Ben, we got off to a pretty good start last week. Some of the guys that we highlighted over on Monkey Knife Fight, the sponsor of our show, we actually did pretty well. Like to tout our own horn a little bit as we can. And I've got a couple of more props for us this week to try and dive into. But before we do, I want to tell you guys about them over at Monkey Knife Fight. It is player props contest for all sports, not just golf, although I think it is great for golf. Don't get me wrong. You also got NFL coming up soon. NBA just ended, of course, but MLB is in full swing. And of course, MMA has fights on the weekly. So if you haven't joined Monkey Knife Fight, check them out. monkeyknifefight.com. Use promo code Awesemo, and you'll get an instant first match deposit of up to $100. So sign up today. And Ben, I've got one for you today. It is Louise, Tayson, and Patrick Reed. They're both going to score over 100 fantasy points this week. That's almost a done deal for me. They're both playing good enough. And this course, Sedgefield, which we're going to talk about, it's just too easy.
It is pretty easy, no doubt about it. Normally, we don't have a ton of big names, but we do this week. Yeah, Patty Reed, he's this guy, no weeks off, literally none.
Zero. Him and Mito, man, they're just playing and traveling and doing it all.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Love it.
It's ridiculous. But yeah, no, I think this course suits both of them very well. Louis, the Valspar comps, everything is set up for these guys to really compete. We've got Decky leading off the salary. I believe that's the first time ever. I saw that on Twitter today. So Very interesting wrinkle there, and I'm excited to dive into it.
Yeah, I am too. Let's start off because we got about 45 minutes tonight. DraftKings threw us a little bit of a curveball with adding the 6-10 MLB game to the main slate. Crazy. So don't worry, we're going to break down that game. Well, not Ben and I, of course. I mean,
certainly not.
You don't want my baseball takes at this point. But we will, and we'll be getting out of here in time to do that, of course. So we're going to break it all down in about 45 minutes. Ben, a par 70, 7,100 yards. Stop me if you've heard this before about Sedgefield Country Club, maybe last week at TPC Southwind. Big difference is the greens. Obviously, Donald Ross greens are going to be a bit trickier, but on the whole, pretty similar golf courses. Probably easier off the tee here this week, though.
Yeah, a little more forgiving at times. Certainly last week, the water was a great equalizer, and we won't see that as much. Bermuda, though, par 70, technical, a lot of the same characteristics. The other thing, of course, WGC last week, everybody got 4 rounds except Higo.
Let's not even talk about that. Let's just not even go there.
And Justin Thomas, because he didn't play. He was there apparently on Sunday, but when you make birdies, does it really count? That's neither here nor there. But I do think there is some carryover, and we hit a big stretch. Of course, you're going to hear a lot about tour cards and status and things up for grabs here. It's the end of the year before the FedEx Cup playoffs.
Yeah, and last week we got a tweet on Sunday, and I got to be honest, I don't know what was going on, but somebody tweeted us and said, hey, listen, scoring's been good all week. Why is it like the guys are playing a U.S. Open right now? And it was suggesting as Ty Hatton fell off the map. Sergio Garcia fell off the map. Then obviously Harris English, Bryson. A lot of guys just started tanking on the back half of that Sunday nine, but that's the water coming into play for you. So let's talk about the Wyndham really quick. 156 players. We've got 4 golfers out there trying to open qualify right now. 4 sponsor exemptions have been added into the field. The latest one, of course, as I see Chad is already looking at my Twitter and me mentioning Akshay Bhatia getting into the field. Then actually have a little tidbit on him later on in the show that maybe you'll find interesting. A little bit of a good fortune for the teenager still trying to make it in professional golf. And we've got a couple of other golfers that are in. John Augenstein is a guy that we've talked about a couple of times. Finally made a cut in his last start. He's getting a sponsor exemption this week. But another guy that's getting it, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up is Will Zelotorius. The guy's still needing sponsor exceptions to play in events. It's crazy. He would be number 26 in the FedEx Cup standings, but he's not, because he's not a full-time member. So does he get into the playoffs with a win this week, Ben? That's how I wanted to start off talking about the players.
He certainly got a chance. Yeah. I mean, some of the status things are wonky. You got Bobby Mack here with a big week in front of him potentially. Will Z, I think step one, was he hurt? Well, it seems like he's healthy again because he looked great last week. Certainly not had a chance, but at the same time played very, very quality golf, banked that top 10. It's up for grabs, though. This is a different field, of course, not as many big names, and we see that right off the board when we look at the top of the salaries.
Yeah, we sure do. And like you said, Hideki Matsuyama, first time I've seen it in quite a while that he's the highest priced golfer. It's warranted, don't get me wrong, but do we really want to roster Hideki in a spot where we know the winning score is going to be 20 under? And if that putter goes cold, it gets me a little nervous. It's not like we're rostering Louis, who we know if he has a bad iron day, can putt from anywhere. So I guess I'm trying to say I am a little bit more comfortable going to Louis Oosthuizen this week over Hideki. And Louis, out of every course on the PGA Tour, he grades out this one the best for me. I actually think Louis could get his first ever PGA Tour win this week. If he plays all 4 rounds. I mean, it could be a withdrawal before we even tee off, but I really think it could come this week.
He hasn't done that in a while, so he's probably due. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, he probably is.
Hideki, it's hard to describe what he does at times. Last week, he gained 13 strokes tee to green. He came in second. He lost a stroke putting. If he just has any sort of semblance with the putter, he wins, probably going away. He can do it, but it's a very narrow margin. You can't strike it that much better than him. And then Louis, as you mentioned, well, he gained strokes literally he has gained strokes putting every week he's played in 2021. That's stupid. That doesn't even make sense. But you've got him, Webb, Will Z. I think for me, Louis is also the one that makes the most sense. It's a great course for him. He rolls it great. What's not to like? And even with the price, you can easily fit him in amongst a lot of builds.
Yeah, 10,700. It's definitely not scaring me off of him. Webb Simpson, 10,600. I have written down here, Ben, it's either like we hope and pray for 2016 when he kind of finished last, I think it was, came in 72nd, or you go all in because he's come in the top 6 in every single other year since 2013. So how do you want to approach Webb this week? And is it more going to be an ownership thing for you? And if it is, at what ownership are you going to say, I'll just play Willie Z or play Louis?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an ownership thing. If he's pushing, and this is why I rely on our premium tools for things like this, if he's pushing upwards of like 25% or more, particularly in single entry and stuff, I will go elsewhere. Webb's doing, he's back to putting very well. His irons, he lost 2.5 strokes over the 4 rounds at St. Jude. I just don't see it. I think there's too much questionable things, particularly with the ball striking with him this year. People wondered if he was hurt. He didn't look good. It's been an okay year for him. He can always roll it. And of course, you mentioned he loves the course. I would gladly pivot if the ownership is up towards the top.
Right now, a little sneak peek at our ownership projections just came out about a half hour ago. Webb Simpson, 27% projected, highest owned golfer in the slate. Not a surprise to you and I, obviously, given the fact that his child is legitimately named after this tournament, of course, or one of his children, I should say. But it just goes to show Louis Oosthuizen is kind of this year's Webb Simpson, very consistent off the tee, the best putter on the PGA Tour, and good pretty much everywhere else. And then we got who I've dubbed as Webb Jr. So many times. Will Zelotorius, obviously, going to Wake Forest, kind of looks like Webb, putts like Webb, everything like it. I think I'm leaning on fading him. Like we've talked about, it's only worked 1 out of 6 or 7 times here that we've had a chance. And the price at 10,600, that's certainly not going to scare anybody off. That's for sure, Ben. So, all right, let's move on. A couple more guys priced above 10,000. Maybe a little sticker shock with Jason Kokrak, given that he hasn't played well since his win down in Texas.
It's a weird one. The putter's still okay, but it's starting to show a little crack here and there. The ball striking was not good. Some of the ball striking numbers, particularly from last week, are going to look weird. There's so much water, it can skew. Like, look at Siwoo. He made a 13. That's going to do a lot for your approach numbers. I'm not overly worried, but you mentioned sticker shock. Give me $200. I'll find Patrick Reed. Give me $300. I'll find Will Z. Give me a discount. I'll play almost anyone in the 9K range over Kokrak. Yeah,
and for Reed, kind of similar course history, not as good as Webb, but when he's come here, he's got a win. In fact, he won more recently than Webb has, and it does seem like a good course for Patrick Reed when he's playing well. Not doing that right now. I I think as we build our lineups at the end, Ben, I think Patrick Reed would be a good cash consideration. He hasn't missed a cut in a while, and I can't imagine him starting to this week. But again, the upside's not quite there. All right. I think we've talked about just about all of my all-inclusives, if you will, because when you're going on vacation, sometimes you just want everything to be paid for. And I think Louise Tayson is going to give it that this week as we move down to our high-end resorts. These are resorts that maybe are costing us a little bit too much money, but sometimes can give us a great return. Brian Harmon, well, he finally played bad, Ben, over 4 rounds. When I say bad, it just didn't score that well. Typically, when he makes the weekend or plays all 4 rounds, he's putting up at least 75 points. He didn't last week, so is it an easy spot to fade him at these high prices?
It's going to depend on the ownership once again. I'm wondering if people are going to be deterred by a 36 finish. He was not good last week, and it was a combination of what he normally does best. He lost strokes putting, and he lost strokes on the approach. He's not going to be able to survive if he does that. He's not a powerful player. He's not a dominant off the tee player. Needs to get back to rolling it. I think he could easily do that here. Overpriced though, so maybe if ownership cooperates, I don't mind jumping on, but if not, I'll fade again.
Yeah, and listen, our chat is pretty astute. Maybe we've done a good job, or maybe the other people have done a better job. But Brandon is letting everybody know to hit the like button for us. And of course, make sure you subscribe to our channel because, Ben, we've not only this channel, but we've got a couple of other new ones as well. Yeah, why don't you tell us just a little bit about the fantasy football one and, of course, the betting one, the odds one that you've been doing a lot of work on recently.
No doubt about it. Yeah, we're expanding our horizon. We just want to provide, depending on what you guys are looking for, everything all-inclusive. So we got the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel. Lofty's doing a great job. The whole team breaking down must-draft running backs, ADP, sleepers, everything to get you ready for your season-long leagues. And the Awesemo Odds sports betting page. We are breaking down win totals and props and the breakfast menu with me and Josh every day. That is a great show. Quick, too. 10, 15-minute shows. So it's not like you're going to be bogged down. Certainly, we're going to have some long form as the season goes. But get over there. Hit that subscribe button for us, too. It really helps, and we don't want you to miss your content. And certainly, Jason, I know you and me, with the golf offseason coming and some downtime, we're going to be putting together some new content that'll probably be popping up on the Awesemo Odds sports betting page for PGA.
Yeah, and I'm excited as sports betting becomes across the country.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit of good piece of news in the state that I live in came out recently. So I'll be looking to take advantage more and more as the months come on. So just wanted to give you guys a tidbit there. Talk about a couple more higher ends. Tommy Fleetwood. He is one of, I'll say, 5 huge names. We'll talk about Fleetwood alone, though, first, that need a big week. I have him pegged. He's number 136 on the FedEx Cup standings right now. I got him needing a top 10 this week to make the playoffs, Ben. With pretty much everything riding on it this week, does Tommy Fleetwood get it done and give us another chance to roster him next week?
This has been a guy that I really thought was getting closer. I really liked him at the Olympics. He's just not playing great, though, and he did not look good last week. Negative with the putter, negative around the green, negative with the approach. He's going to have to turn that around. I still firmly believe, like a lot of these guys, Tommy Fleetwood's going to have some big-time wins out there. I don't know if he's just going to flick a light switch, though. It's been bad pretty much all year. So as much as I would love to spin a positive outlook, I think I would rather go elsewhere in the 9K range this week.
Does that include Sungjae? He just seems a little lost to me right now. And, obviously he put a lot into the Olympics, as I would too in his situation, but he does seem a little lost. Not really much going on ball striking last week and lost with a par.
Yeah, I think that to me, it wasn't as maybe I'm trying to spin it positively with him because I thought coming off the Olympics, he was actually an interesting target. He lost 5 strokes putting last week. So I kind of forgive him. The ball striking, as you mentioned, it wasn't great, but the putting really didn't give him a chance anyway. And we know that Sungjae, he's a winner of the Honda Classic. I see some similarities. I think this is a much easier course, of course. No pun intended there, but I kind of like the technical layout. Valspar as well. He's had a top 5, and he's played Wyndham before. 2019, he came in 6th.
Yeah, 2 top 10s here, actually. Yep, 2 top 10. So I think he'll probably be low owned because he hasn't played well, and he's priced up with guys that certainly have played at least a little bit better than him recently. Russ Henley is one of those guys that kind of peppered the leaderboard for a couple of weeks in a row, even though he didn't end up getting inside the top 10, but he struggles off the tee. However, his iron game, Ben, and his putter, well, those have both been really good. So at 9,400, are you looking at Russ Henley, or do you think it's time to go a little bit further down?
Oh boy, this guy is just difficult. At times, I really thought it was there for him, even in the US Open. I love the ball striking. He can get crazy hot with the irons. And this is the right formula. Crazy hot with the irons, be on Bermuda. I think that is going to keep him in the conversation. I probably like him more as a bet, though. He's the type of guy I think that could break through and win an event. Not sure what I want to do on the DFS side with so many other options.
Yeah, there are a couple of other options here that I like. One of them that I find interesting here this week, and then I'm a little bit intrigued on after an opening 64 at TPC Southwind last week. Matthew Wolff, a course that I really wouldn't think would be good for him, given all the water on it, still put up some pretty good numbers. So maybe we're starting to get good golf again in his short game. Man, that was on fire last week. So if that stays on fire, I don't mind him as a pivot play. No one is going to want to own him at this week at this course.
Yeah, when a guy can score like that too, you have additional outs because Matt Wolff could give you a middling finish and he can score so well where he gets the under 70 bonus. He gets you 3 eagles, 2 streaks. All that stuff can make up for what'll probably be some unnecessary errors because that's just the way he plays. I don't mind it. I think, again, you're not going near him in cash. That's a given, but tournaments, no problem with it.
For sure. All right, now let's talk about those other golfers I mentioned that are right on the bubble. Adam Scott is one of them. He's actually inside it. Then I've got the list. Ricky Fowler, Matt Kuchar, Justin Rose. Those guys are near the line. Francesco Molinari, he's even further down. Let's focus on the first patch, though. Adam Scott, Justin Rose. Out of all of the guys that need a big finish this week, who's the one that gets it done for us, or the one that you're targeting the most to get it done for us?
Man, it's so crazy. I feel like maybe it's not. And chat, chime in if you want. I feel like there's more big names than usual fighting around the line this year. Doesn't it seem that way? Absolutely.
No doubt in my mind. There'll be some weird kind of exemptions used next year. Career monies from some of the biggest names. Tommy Fleetwood needing the top 50 in the world to get into some of those invitational events. It's definitely going to be different if they don't come out and perform this week. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I'm stunned by just the number of those guys. I'm gonna go to Ricky. I know of the guys that need a big week in that bucket. I just can't trust Rose. I don't know what's up with Adam Scott. His putter's been great. Ricky is still all over the map. He gained almost 6 strokes putting at 3M, and that's what we've been waiting for. And now the ball striking has regressed. So I do think this is a pretty good course for him. And I his results have not been good, not up to Ricky standards, but they haven't been a disaster. He is at least starting to consistently find the weekend.
Speaking of what the chat is talking about, Ricky decided to add in sunglasses to the mix.
They're going to say he added cocaine. I was going to say, really? Wow.
Well, I think that's kind of where I'm going with this. What's he hiding behind the sunglasses? Maybe it really was a sun problem in their prescription, but who knows what he's really hiding. Now, getting back to my question, Ben, of the top 5, you think Ricky gets it done? Looks like chat thinks it could be Rose. Interesting that Rose is even on the outside looking in. I'm going to go Fleetwood because I think I've seen more out of Fleetwood the past couple of weeks than I have before. But I'm going to say Fleetwood probably cares the least amount out of all of them, Ben, given that he's still ranked inside the top 50 in the world and still has good membership, obviously, on the European Tour. He's not as worried. Fowler, this is concerning here in a couple of years if he doesn't get it going.
Yeah, no joke. I mean, it's a slippery slope. Obviously, some of these guys are marquee names, and depending on where they are in their careers, but I just think it's not as simple as, oh, they need a big week and now they'll turn it on. Golf is not like that, obviously. Yep. But there's some signs there that someone like Ricky, if he can get it rolling, can do it. And again, you have to realize in a field like this, the opportunity cost isn't as much. Someone like, Seamus is there, Gary Woodland, Kisner, who was awful last week. There are names, but they're not huge marquee names.
No, they're not. And chat's just going off now on this cocaine thing. Just stick with
everyone says I'm so tired. I am exhausted. I've done a lot of shows today, but I had tennis winners and I'm on a good stretch in tennis. That is fueling me.
That's just here. we don't need cocaine. We just need tennis winners.
I'm seeing things clearly. Trust me. And we've got our boy Eric Lindquist, who does deserve a shout out. A tough Sunday for him. I was rooting him on. Some really just a raw deal there. And that comes with the PGA DFS. I know you've experienced. I certainly have as well. It hurts. It sucks. But long-term, you want to put yourself in those positions because good things happen when you're in the hunt late on Sunday.
The thing is that his impression of me was good enough to get him the 13-1 payout with Burns. Yeah, but it wasn't good enough to get that putt to go in. So sorry, Eric.
That was really my first thought when I saw the putt lip out. But
next time I'm coming with a tape over my eyebrow, and I'll have to give you my impression of him. But we don't have enough time for that this week since MLB is going to be locking early. No impressions from me either, not at least this week. All right, let's move down into our value resorts here. You know, when we're on the road and trying to get to a all-inclusive destination, might need a couple of value hotels on the way. And you already mentioned Bobby Mack. He's here through that special temporary membership that I bring up from time to time. And with the good finishes at the majors and WGCs, he has earned that, similar to Will Zelotorius, which means he'll be a full-time member next year. He's still pretty close. He's not as up there as Will Zelotorius. He's kind of in that Willie Gordon area, which gives them a decent amount of starts. So 8,900, you called him great at the 3M Open. You said you were interested last week based on lower price ownership. So now we're kind of back up there on both things. Are you going to fade again, or do you think it's a good course?
I'm zigging and zagging with this guy. And honestly, right now, knock on wood, I'm in a good groove. I didn't like him a couple weeks ago. He missed the cut. I liked him last week. He was able to get inside the top 20. I'm jumping right back off, though. I don't know if this is the best course for him. He's almost 9,000. I would just rather take a discount. There are guys towards the bottom of the eights that I feel more comfortable with.
Yeah, let's talk about a few of those guys. I'm going to take a stab at who they are. Gary Woodland, he's played well. See, what Gary Woodland did, Ben, is he said, I need a couple of points. I don't want to have a top 10 at the Wyndham to get into the playoffs like Ricky Fowler. I'm going to go to California and play well at the Barracuda. That's exactly what he did. He's 101st now. No problems. Guaranteed himself a spot in the next week's event. So does that mean the pressure's off and we play him? Or does that mean the pressure's off and we don't play him and see you next week at the Northern Trust?
No, I think that I would tend to play him more, having seen that he's in a good groove. He's a good player. If he wanted to just rest up a little bit, he wouldn't even have to. I mean, maybe he'd be cutting it close, but I don't even think it's a must that he had to be here at this point. Knowing where he's at, he's a good driver of the ball. He can club down here. I think he's everyone is rightfully so saying, like, why the hell would you ever go to Ricky? If you don't want to go to Ricky, go Gary Woodland's right there. And he is someone, it's been not a great year, but still mega talent and obviously a proven winner.
Chat seemed to love Seamus Power. Ooh, excuse me. I don't know why my body doesn't like Seamus, but the chat loves Seamus Power, including Eric. However, you and I talk about after a career-changing or altering win, sometimes players go through regression. We saw it with Garrick Higgo most recently. So do you think Seamus Power is in that realm, or do you think the play was and is too good that we give him another week here this week?
It's tough. I think it's a situation where I'm a little cautious because he is a prime candidate for that. We saw it with Cam Davis. There's a lot of guys that can kind of get in that mix. I like that it's not immediate, though. To me, that matters. Like, he didn't win the Barracuda last week. That to me would be a lot worse. He's had a little time and he's taken some time away to digest, and now he's getting back into it. So I don't mind it. I think he's still a little rich price wise. Everyone in the alt events, I'm going to bitch a little for a while here. Seamus and EVR are two people that I have been mega exposed to, not just on DFS, but betting all year. And I did not have either of them in their outrights, which is just gross. But I think I still would rather go down to like Streelman or Munoz.
Yeah, I had Kevin, the real deal Streel, marked down here. Guy that comes in the top 20 or misses the cut. Similar situation for Sebastian Munoz, but he's like a top 5 guy or missed cut. I'm intrigued with both of them, certainly over Seamus Power. And I'll give you one more. Guy that's having quietly been an incredibly good season. He's ranked 45th on the FedEx Cup. I looked him up to see if he needed a good start this week to get in. No, it's not even close. Charles Schwarzel. The guy is quietly putting together a fantastic season. So would you rather play Charles over Seamus this week?
I would. Charles is someone he can be frustrating to roster, but he is having a good year, and he's someone that can make a lot of birdies, make a lot of putts. We saw at the 3M, destroyed it. Just plus everywhere, went super low, runner up. I like the way he's playing now that he's fixed his driving, which was really holding him back. He's been positive off the tee in 5 of his last 6 and 7 of his last 8, going all the way back to Valspar. So this guy is striking it well. I like Charles a lot this week.
Yeah, and he's gotten away from the ugliest putter on tour. I know he's using just a flat mallet, where before it was one of those like backwards ones that came down the neck of the shaft, like went opposite way. It was the ugliest putter I've ever seen. Jordan's giving me the eyes behind the glass. Like, I got to go look at this. Trust me.
Who's?
Charles. Yeah.
Oh.
It was the ugliest putter in the entire PGA Tour. No doubt about it.
The worst putter ever is another South African, Jocko Van Zel. You ever remember his putter? It was it's like a nub.
It's just a little.
It's a little thing. It's like a little, I can't even describe it.
I have a collection of Scotty Camerons out in the garage, and I know it's like a mini golf putter that you would get going up to Pirates Cove or whatever. I know exactly which one you're talking about.
It's just like a little square. That is the most disturbing putter. If anyone wants to know what the hell I'm talking about, you just Jocko Van Zel putter.
That one.
Disturbing.
What also is disturbing, speaking of disturbing, is DraftKings deciding last week they put out pricing for the Barracuda for about 3.5 minutes. Anyone that entered got a special $5 ticket from them. But what I want to talk about is they priced Mito Pereira correctly. He was like 10,800. Fast forward a week, it's a normal event, and he's back down to 7,900. They just can't get it right. He's going to be 1,000% owned again, probably. And I've decided I'm just going to play him. I'm not going to let him beat me. And if he does beat me by missing the cut, well, you know what? I won't play him in the single entry, and maybe I'll have a chance there. I don't know what else to do. This guy continues to get it done, Ben.
Very impressive. Certainly can score again, though, in Birdie Fest with more variance due to bonuses, streaks. I think that ownership becomes even more important. And if he's very popular, and I think he's going to be, there's still a lot of names down here, guys that can play. When you look at someone like Sneds, who can go crazy low, Poston is a great putter, Taylor Gooch with the irons, Lebioda, who's mid-sevens no matter what tournament we play. I think I will pivot more often than not as well.
You just said 4 names that I'm very intrigued with this week. Kind of similar to last week, where we had a lot of those low 8Ks with Corey Connors, Joaquin Neiman, Abraham Answer, the winner, obviously, Cam Smith, top 5. A lot of good values. I think you mentioned a lot of them. So of those guys, if we have to pick 2 to put in our lineup at the end of the show, Ben, who are the first 2 you clicking? Vegas is there. Snedeker, like you said, Poston, Gooch. Who are the top 2?
I'm going to go with Sneds just because for upside purposes, this is a guy that we've seen time and time again. Right? Yeah. He can come out of nowhere, former winner. It's a good course for him. Everything checks out, and he's actually shown a little form. He was 11th at 3M, top 20 at the Open Championship. From there, it's a little tricky. I want to talk up Poston. He's such a good putter. I just worry. His irons have been good the last 2, but before that, he had lost in 6 straight weeks on the approach. That's really all it comes down to. If he hits the irons good, he's extremely dangerous.
Yeah, the chat is wondering, you don't like Power or Mito, and they were the first 2 in the pool. Listen, this is how it happens with high-owned plays. Yeah, it's nothing against the guy. It's the opportunity cost of golfers around them. I definitely get the Mito one. Like I said, I'm going to bark down that tree this week and hope it pans out like it has almost every single week. But since I'm jumping on now, we all know what that is going to entail. Yeah. So a couple of other big plays in this range that I would think is a pretty good value here this week. Patton Kizzire is one of them. Good consistency here. Looks like he's 4 for 4 and made cuts, and he's no longer above 8,000. So in that mid-7s, we got Kizzire. You mentioned Lebioda as well, who's on a weird withdrawal situation. We haven't got much news about that. He made an eagle to make the cut and then withdrew. Did he get COVID? Was it a family problem? Do you know anything about that?
I believe it was a family emergency. Okay. So he's good to go. I saw him tweet something about someone was rushed to the hospital. I hope I get this right. I'm pretty sure it turned out well, that the person was okay. And we obviously hope that, but I think he's good to go health-wise for him. No COVID or anything. Expect him to tee it up. Kizzire is an interesting name. If he stays out of trouble off the tee, he can talk about roll it. Another great putter. His irons are garbage, but he doesn't really need it the way he plays. And on Bermuda, that's his preferred surface.
Yeah, and Kyle, thank you, Kyle Reed. That's why I love Chad. His dad has had a medical issue. Hope his dad is okay. Had nothing to do with him. So it definitely intrigues me more that coming in at 7,600, and the guy hasn't, theoretically speaking, missed a cut in a while and was playing possibly the best golf of his career before that. So I'm definitely intrigued. Harold Varner, near his home here. I know he went to East Carolina. I don't think, this is Greensboro, so it's inland a little bit. Certainly from the area, though, he's going to love this, love the opportunity to play in front of some home fans this week. So 7,500 seems like a good opportunity cost for Varner.
I think this is a target-rich environment. A lot of GPP plays, guys that have shown flashes, guys that can really roll it. Varner, it's been a frustrating year in some regards. I really thought he was primed to take, we've seen a lot of winners, EVRs of the world. I thought HV3 could be among them. He was really close at Heritage. That's a good course for this. He can go low scoring wise. I think this could be, again, I know that I've liked a lot of guys, but I anticipate building very flat where I have 2 or 3 or 4 mid 7K guys in some of my lineups.
Yeah, I love our buddy Tokyo bringing up these next 2 guys because I had them listed next. They are the Olympic medalists that aren't named Xander Schauffele. I'm talking about CT Pan and Rory Sabatini. Ben, both these guys need a huge start this week. Pan sitting at number 120 on the FedEx Cup, and Sabatini even a little bit further down, I think he's 140. So is the Olympic medal momentum a real thing this week, or are you saying, nope, that was their highlight of their season? Which so it still tough. Might be. It still might be, but
it probably will be.
It will be, but unless they win this week.
I think CT Pan is worth looking into. He's someone that I think when you look at his career, he's going to be someone courses are going to matter a lot. He's good where he's good and he's bad where he's bad. You hear these helicopters flying over my apartment. It's the wall.
You all right?
I think we're good. Heritage winner, runner up at Wyndham, top 3 at Honda, RSM, OHL. These are the best courses for him. I don't think that he's going to be a winner at Quail Hollow anytime soon. So you look at Wyndham, I think it's a good course and it will continue to be a good course. So of the 2, I'd rather play CT Pan.
Yeah, Sabatini has 2 top 10s here as well. Our buddy Eric does not like him this week. I'm a little bit intrigued. I think there was good momentum. Obviously, he clearly gamed the system legally to be able to compete in the Olympics, which is clearly what he wanted to do, and he ended up medaling because of it. It's really kind of a great story, a funny story. He'll need to continue to write it if he wants to play next week. I don't know. See, he's a guy, Ben, that I'm not really sure what type of exemption besides a career money one would get him full status next year on the tour. Obviously, being in the 125 to 150 category, he'll get to go back to the Korn Ferry Tour, all that fun stuff. But have more on that coming up in a bit when we talk about Batia. How about Ches Reavie? 4 straight made cuts, also in this range. And then Lanto Griffin is also here, but he's been non-existent for quite a while.
Yeah, the form's really, and that's what you're going to find in the lower 7s. You see guys that either aren't super talented or more likely than not are talented. They just can't get it together. I'm
seeing the helicopters delivering your food.
I wish that was true so badly.
They're delivering PDQ from right down the street from my house.
That would be. We got Aaron Wise in this section, who is Aaron Wise. Lost 10 strokes putting over his last 2 events.
Oh,
that doesn't seem good. Is there anyone in the low 7s though? You've got like Sepp Straka, Luke List, Dahman. Their names, I'm not super drawn to them. Your boy Doug Gim, Kyle Stanley.
Yep.
A lot of guys worth looking at, but no one that stood out for me.
Yeah, I think Brandon Hagee is a guy that stuck out. He's one that's a top 20 or a missed cut. You've got a couple of golfers in the field that this week like that, and it's all about how many of you want to play, right? You want to play them all in the same lineup or what have you. Damon has been playing better. I think I'd click him probably first in this range. I don't know. It's tough. Then you've got, a couple of guys like Brian Stewart, Jim Herman, Adam Hadwin that have been playing a little bit better. Herman, obviously defending champion, kind of blew it last week. Yeah. So does that mean you'd rather pick somebody like Brian Stewart or Aaron Wise over Herman this week? Or are you okay to go right back there?
I don't hate it. I think I would pick Stewart over him. The situation, again, I'm looking for guys who can really get hot with the putter, and Wise used to be able to do that. He certainly can't right now. That's a big deterrent at a birdie fest. It's a situation you really see these numbers climbing with the birdies. You got to be able to go low, and if you can't do that, it's hard to make an impact in a field like this.
Sure is. All right, let's talk about a couple of vacation clubs. And listen, if people in the chat or listening to this know vacation clubs, sometimes they can be absolute 5 out of 5 stars. You go and it's just everything you need for the whole week when you're going. And other times, well, then they're just outdated and need to be upgraded and they don't give you what you want. So that's, kind of in line with golfers priced under 7,000. So we're going to talk about a few of those. First, I will mention Akshay Bhatia. He got a sponsor exemption, missed the cut last week, the Barracuda, but now comes over to a course where I believe it's the closest to his home, if not a home event. I mean, it's as close as you're going to get for him. He's got 108 non-member FedEx Cup points, which basically qualifies him for the Korn Ferry Tour finals. So this week, 6,500, is there a guy that you would rather pick over Bhatia, or is this the spot to use him?
I mean, I don't know how low I'm going to need to go just because I don't have a ton of interest in doubling up north of 10. If I do have to, I honestly have more interest in him this week than I normally do. There's not a ton down here. You've got Lahiri, Tom Lewis is there, Bo Hostler, Villegas, who's been great with the irons. These are just some names that I think are worth looking at. Don't want to get to them if I don't have to. We know Batia's got the talent. It's just, can he put it all together? Obviously, that's been a struggle so far.
Yeah, of course, where he shouldn't get in trouble off the tee, I think could be a good fit for him. And let's talk about Alex Smalley. He's another guy getting a sponsor exemption. And the reason why I'm bringing him up then is he's had some good form on the Form Tour. No pun intended there.
So what?
Yeah, the Forum Tour. So this year's version of the Mackenzie Tour, they combined the Mackenzie and the PGA Tour Latin America because of COVID and all that. And the PGA Tour put out some prize pools. They were like $100,000, I think, for the total purse, and first got like $30,000. Regardless, the reason why I'm bringing him up is because he went to Duke, and he is also very close to that non-member FedEx Cup points, getting inside the 200 number to get him into the Korn Ferry Tour finals. So home event, went to Duke, came in the top 20 last time we saw him on the PGA Tour, good form on the Forum Tour. Any shares this week?
So I played this guy when he was the flat min at John Deere, and he was fine. Yeah. I don't love the price, honestly. If he was a flat min, I'd do it.
Yeah.
It's not a great, he's going up against guys.
Lahiri, for example, who I think is playing much better. Yeah.
That's really where I'm at. So it's nothing against him. I think he's very live to maybe make the weekend, but he's not doing anything for my lineup that I couldn't do with a lot of other players.
Yeah. Kevin Tway is also in this range on a string of made cuts in a row. Again, I think I'd rather go to Lahiri. Where do you factor in golfers that we're talking about that say need a top 20 or a top 15 to make next week in this range? Do you prioritize them? Say somebody like Bo Hostler who needs a top 5 over these guys, or would you rather go with somebody with less pressure on them? Like Lahiri, I think is number 121. So he's right on that line.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I do think you can look at it both ways, honestly. I think the worst scenario is when you really need something like Lahiri. I don't mind that because he needs to just go out and execute. He's going to be fine. Like if you're telling me you got to go top 5, that's a lot of pressure. I don't love that in the sense, A, you've been pretty bad all year, that means, and B, now you really have to be going for stuff, and maybe that gets into your head. So a situation like that, I'm not super keen to chase it unless I really have to. Chat just pointed out, I will say, Russell Knox was a name I did have on my list, 6,700. The form has been horrendous. I do like the course, though. You can make birdies in bunches. It's going to depend on how aggressive I need to be up top, and that's something me and Eric on Wednesday will dive into for sure.
Yeah, Knox is a guy that actually is on what I called, when I did my math, which, who knows how that goes, depending on what time of day I did it, is on that bubble. If he just makes the cut, he'll play next week. He's number 113. He's got a 50-ish point lead on number 125. So that would mean about 50 FedEx Cup points is top 15 and above. So it would take literally 15 guys from below there all to come inside the top 15. That's highly unlikely. So Knox is likely through. If he doesn't, that would be some crazy things to happen. A couple of guys down at the 200 FedEx Cup points rankings that have been playing better. Michael Gellerman is one. He sits at number 201, just needs to make the weekend. And Nick Watney, two guys that in the strokes game department have looked pretty decent. So Nick Watney, Michael Gellerman, I know I'm reaching, but this is the tournament. It's the Wyndham. So either of those guys show up with you. Gellerman is the min price, kind of like what we talked about with Smalley.
That's the thing I wanted to point out. That's a great point by you. Gellerman at least unlocks different permutations. He's striking the hell out of the ball. His approaches have been fantastic. Now that I know that he is not Spieth's caddy, I like him more as well. Because I figured if that guy was any good, he wouldn't be a caddy. Yeah. It's a whole different person. So this is someone that I think you could look to if you want to say you want Usti and Reed or something like that. This could be a great way to do that. Yeah, or Will Z, exactly.
Yep, I like that. Nick Watney, any interest or no?
Probably not, to be honest. I like Nick Watney. It's been a rough year, and I don't really see the need to go there.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Okay, we got about 4 minutes left before we got to get out for the MLB, guys. So let's make a couple of lineups. Last week, we actually built a pretty good GPP lineup with Bryson back 9 on Sunday. It looked really good for a little bit before Bryson imploded. Still easily through the cash line, so we'll try and make it 2 for 2 there. And I didn't get a chance to look at our cash line there, but I know it had Paul Casey, but it also had Matt Fitzpatrick, so not as good there. We'll start off this week. It seems like I didn't gather as much as I wanted to from the top from you, but it seems like you'd be okay with starting a GPP line or a main line with Louis this week. Do I have a read correctly on you there, or would you rather go to Patrick Reed?
No, I mean, as much as I would like Eric Lindquist to walk home, I don't know what that means, walk to South Dakota. That could take you a while. We'll start with Louis. I'll take mercy there. Louis is a great starting point in all formats. Yep. He's solid. He's safe. Price is reasonable. I mean, I know he's expensive, but it's warranted. The question I have is, where do you go? Do you touch the 9s or do you go right to the 8s?
Yeah. So judging by how we've kind of talked about this, it seems like there's a plethora of guys that we would like in the, say, 8K range or low 8s, kind of like a Sebastian Munoz. Mm-hmm. You and I both mentioned. We both mentioned how Charles Schwarzel is kind of right there too. And I think it fits the build. I mean, just starting with Louis, you're at about 7,800 players to go. So we won't even have to drop down that much. So I think a good second player in this type of build would be like a Sebastian Munoz. Now, if we went Munoz, would you want to try and get somebody else up top? Meaning, we get one of our cheap guys that we like, or do you think this build for a GPP, we should now fill it out with maybe some other high scores, like maybe a Brandt Snedeker, who's going to be low on this week because Ferrer is right there.
I kind of like the idea of really hitting that range hard in the sense of going like Louis, Munoz, Charles, and Sneds. Yep. Like you're really in a balanced build, but you have one, I guess you could say, top end guy. After that, if you go with those 4, you have 7,500, just a little more than that for 2 guys. You can easily dip to the 8s if you want, or you can keep attacking the 7s.
Yeah, if you love the Gellerman, the Batia, this is where you can go up now and get, say, Gary Woodland. If you want to buy into Ricky Fowler, you could do that. I think for me, there's actually a couple of guys at the 7,500 and 7,400 range that we've talked about that we like. Harold Varner's there, CT Pan. You and I both said CT Pan, and I think that this is the type of course needing a big finish, coming off the bronze medal, that's got to give him momentum. I like going there. Leaves us with 7,700. We didn't talk about Taylor Gooch a lot, but this guy has not let us down in over a month and a half. So, Ben, I like finishing it there. Do you think we have any, problems with dupes, or do you think we're low enough owned with this lineup here where we could just click Taylor Gooch, use the full salary, and call it a day?
I think we're fine. What you want to do, you go to Awesemo, check the top golfers tool, the projections, the ownership, and you just make sure, if you are, leave $100 on the table and use Patton Kazire. You'll be fine then. I have no problem with Kazire. So I think that's the power of, like I said, you build your lineups, even if you're not building directly off our tools, just cross-reference. That's what I do a lot is, okay, let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. That's a great way to double check yourself.
Yeah, total ownership of the lineup, probably going to be under 70%. That's what we target for GPP. So as we get on out of here, if you are struggling with, say, that last spot, great tool to use to check and see who Ben, Alex, all the team here ranks. Check out the Pro Plays tool. We'll be coming out with that, of course, every Wednesday morning, how we rank our guys in GPP formats. It's a great way to go out and do that. So we're going to get on out of here so MLB can come in and do their thing. Next week is the Northern Trust. It'll be 125 golfers. There will be a cut and the playoffs begin. So until next week, everybody, good luck at the Wyndham Championship, and we will see you on the other side. Cheers, everybody.